Hi, this is Nicholas Yock, a registered education and migration agent from Pathway to Oz. Today I'm going to go through and give you an example of how we calculated the points for a client of ours who was successfully able to obtain permanent residency. And this client's called Ben. He's from the UK. Just to give you a little background, Ben actually came to Australia unqualified, so he had previous work experience in the industry as a plasterer. However, he didn't have any qualifications or anything like that. Ben was fortunate enough to receive a total of 65 points, including 5 points for state nomination. And then we actually applied for the permanent Queensland State Nominated Subclass 190 visa, or the Skilled Nominated Subclass 190 visa, which is a permanent visa for Ben. Please note, the information today is general in nature. Just because it worked for our client, your situation might be slightly different, but feel free to talk to a migration professional. All right, so as mentioned, Ben had previously worked as a plasterer in the UK, but with no qualifications. It's actually really common for someone, especially tradesmen from the UK or other cities or countries, to come to Australia unqualified, just because they gain the skills and experience on the trade in those countries. However, he initially came to Australia on a working holiday visa, and he actually started working in the industry, doing as a plasterer in Australia. And then after that, he eventually transitioned on to his partner's student visa. So he continued working in Australia for that time. Ben came into the office, and as he was unqualified, the very first thing we did was say, look, you've got to get qualified. So Ben was able to get a qualification without actually having to study. So he did this through a process called Recognised Prior Learning, which recognises your experience and understands that you gained the skills for the occupation on the job, as opposed to a classroom. There is actually a separate video on Recognised Prior Learning if you'd like to refer to it. So once he became qualified, he got his Certificate III in wall and ceiling lining, I think. We were then able to lodge a full skills assessment through trades recognition as a fibrous plasterer, which is an occupation that is on the medium to long term list and also the Queensland State Occupation list. When submitting the skill assessment, TRA basically shows the date on the skill assessment outcome letter that you are classified as skilled for the occupation, and you can start claiming points for there. Even though he was unqualified in the UK, he began working in the trade in 2008. So you can only usually claim points from the date of your skill level required for the occupation. So usually that is post-qualification. So if you go to the trade school and get your Certificate III. However, when you are unqualified, TRA, or the Skill Assessing Authority, will take away several years of your experience due to the lack of qualification. So in this instance, TRA took away 3 years of his work experience and allowed him to claim points from July 2011, even though he started working in July 2008. So with the skill assessment in hand, the next step was to lodge the expression of interest through Skill Select. We did so and indicated Queensland as a state that would be willing to, receive state nomination for. So obviously he did a total of 60 points and received 5 extra points for state nomination. So below I'm going to give you a general overview of the points and how we calculated them. So age, he was 30, he received 30 points. English, proficient, very common, he received 10 points. Education, so even though he was technically unqualified, he got it through RPL, so he got the Certificate III in wall and ceiling lining, and he actually was able to claim 10 points for the qualification, as it was an Australian trade qualification recognised by the Skill Assessing Authority. During his time on the working holiday visa or student dependent visa, he worked for between 1 to 3 years in the trade, so we got 5 points there. Overseas work experience, we were able to claim 5 points, as we were able to, find 3 to 5 years of work experience from July 2011 until he came to Australia. And then we were able to get 5 points for state nomination. So that's 65 points. So fibrous plaster is on the Queensland State Nominated list, and we were fortunate enough to receive an invitation from Queensland Migration to apply for the visa. So Ben's Queensland State nomination was approved, several weeks after submitted, and we received the invitation to apply for the permanent skilled nominated visa. Look, so this, goes through how we got the points and how we were able to apply for it. Please note, any information provided in this video is general in nature. His situation might not be exactly the same as yours. But if you would like to, find out more information about your specific situation, feel free to contact Pathway to Oz. Thank you.